Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in the room, in the room where it happens, the room where it happens, the room where it happens. We are back with another episode of Hurdlers of Adversity, Inspirers and Maximizers of Pivotal Moments. You are going to absolutely adore, love this guest we have on today. I said it, I called her out last week, and so she is in the green room. She's ready to go. She's sipping on her tea right now. We have an amazing guest. You're going to love this show once again. So I see we got a couple people on right now. So if you are in the chat, just want to know who you are, come on in, sign in, check in, want to know where you're streaming in from as well. So we are always talking about how we are helping people to embrace a new normal mindset, to amputate fear, and to win the medals that are in their life. This show is all about where we can get up close and personal with individuals who have these dynamic, just kind of courageous stories that they have overcome, and then now they're teaching us how to do it ourselves. So thank you, and put your comment in the chat box. I want to know where you're scoping in from, where you're coming in from. Our theme this month was always focusing on overcoming challenges, as always, and we are talking about, people of color of this month. But last week we had on the Super Bowl, and I have to give a shout out because our guest last week, he called it. He beat all of us in the calling the Tampa Bay Bucks. So I gotta shout him out for pro mindset, dude. He just knocked out the park. And so we're talking about in the mindset, that mindset will win the day, win the game. And so I was talking about that, and he was talking about, hey, what's up, user from Vegas? Who's that? I don't know who you are, so you got to put that. Tell me who you are. User from Vegas there. Who we got? Another one. Hi, another Facebook user. Thanks for being on today. We appreciate it. But as we had Reggie Rivers on and Denver Bronco Carl Mecklenburg, they really did a great job in the whole point of it. But pro mindset, dude, Craig Dorman just took us all out. Called it. So tip my hat to you in that. Okay, so just because it's African American Heritage Month, we want to kind of celebrate. Did you know, I have a thing for you now. The owner of patent 576395 that was awarded on February the 2nd back in, I think, 1902. The name Alfred L. Crawley, I think it's Crawley, invented or put in place the ice cream mold disher. It's designed to keep ice cream and other foods from sticking. Did you know that? Every time you eat ice cream, think of brother. All right. Past shows now. We had on Craig Doman, as I said last week, called it. We also had a cameo appearance by Reggie Rivers and Carl Mecklenburg, as I said. And last month was all about Olympians, so Olympic mindset. We had on Ronaldo Skeets Nehemiah from, of course, Maryland, Apollo Ono, Dancing with the Stars, and one of America's decorated speed skaters, short track, Adeline Gray, American woman wrestler, fantastic guest, and Michelle Ducer Farrell. And she, of course, 1984 Olympic gymnast, silver medalist. And we had all those individuals on. Go back and check those shows out because they were talking about what it takes on the Olympic mindset to actually make it to the highest platform of sport. And it was fantastic shows that we had out there. We are cutting them up right now and putting them out because they had such great information. We'll do the same with this show because I know it's going to be awesome as well. So before we get to our guest, I have to say the thank yous, the shout outs to everybody. Hi from Charlotte. I know that has got to be Lynn Kier because she's always on. Lynn, thank you. I'm sure that's Charlotte. Is it cold there? And then who's that? Oh, Jaleesa from Vegas. Oh, Jaleesa, she's my rock star social media guru. So of course she is on because she's counting the numbers. She's counting the beans for me right now. So thanks, Jaleesa. All of you who have been commenting on the post, who've been sharing this, we've been getting a lot of push in the, not so much like on the lives, but you have been doing a great job of sharing them after it's been going out, the content. So if you're on the East Coast, you're probably about ready to go to bed. If you're on the West Coast, you got a couple more hours of work to do. So go back and do your work, watch this later if you need to. So stay tuned. We have another live that's going to be coming up. Dates are going to be following on these lives we're going to do in the Facebook group, as well as here too. So Lynn says cold and rainy in Charlotte. Awesome. I figured it was. So we went from 80 people in the Facebook group, Amputate Fear Facebook group, to now we're just a little bit over 300. So that's great. So now we're going to start giving a lot of content away. We're just going to really start going deep in that group. So you can go there at www.facebook.com/groups/amputate fear. You're in the group, and we're going to start really doing a lot of work there. As soon as you see a post come up and you see our guest, please go ahead and share this with somebody else, because this is, like I said, it's going to be a fantastic show. All right, who am I? On May 17th, 1994, 5:29 in the afternoon, I was one of the fastest hurdlers in the country, according to USA Track and Field News, top 8 in the country, top 20 in the world, and they had picked me to make the Olympic team. I was also on my way to officer candidate school in the United States Army. And as my guest pointed out to me, she said I was wearing blue for Air Force because she's an Air Force brat. Come on now. And I did this, bam, get my black on. Army. So, but I'll put the blue back, okay? Because I like the jacket. So at 5:30, I misstepped the hurdle, dislocated my knee, severed the artery behind the kneecap, and 7 days later became an amputee through elective surgery. And I had to adjust to a new normal mindset. And that my wife gave me the new normal phrasing, because she said, we're going to get through this together. It's just our new normal. And with the mindset around that, I began to retool, to repurpose, to engage again, because I realized that when we have a vision, plus we have hope and faith coupled to that vision, and that outweighs our fear, commitment is made to live life more courageous. And so I started swimming for physical therapy, got so fast in the water that I made the Paralympic swim team. I saw athletes on the track running with artificial limbs, and then 4 years later won the silver medal in Sydney, Australia, capturing the American record in the process. And then I built out a program for the United States Olympic Committee, which now helps wounded, ill, and injured service members use sports as a tool for their rehabilitation. So that's kind of my background. I'm very thankful for this, that we can have these conversations here. Thankful for StreamYard, for LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for allowing these platforms to have dynamic conversations with individuals. So let's get to our guest right now. If you are excited about our guest, because I know that you know, I've been putting her on LinkedIn all over the place. Type that in the chat box. I want you to type in our guest name for today. If you know it, put it in the chat box. I want to see how many people out there are paying attention to it. So here we go. My guest is a TEDx speaker. She is resilience guru and a mindset coach and founder of the Grow Flow community. Her previous work in HR and talent management experienced an unprecedented tragedy and changed the trajectory of her life forever. Determined to rebuild, she discovered mindset habits and lifestyle changes that helped her find her way back to a whole heart. And this inspired her to help others jumpstart their mental strength training. And she created a simple technique that's trains your brain to reframe negative thinking so you can build for your resilience and overcome any challenge that life throws your way. How many of you need that right now? I know I do. Her story has been featured in Forbes, Good Morning America, MSNBC, and various other media outlets and podcasts. And she has helped giant clients like NBC's Golf Channel, HubSpot, and Universal Orlando Parks and Resorts. So please join me in welcoming the mentalist gymnast, the founder of Grow Flow, the amazing, the uncomparable, Karen Allen.
Thank you, John.
Absolutely.
I felt like I should have been running out of the tunnel.
Absolutely. I gotta run. I love it. Yeah, I've been so looking forward to all week to being on with you, because I think, some of the things that you challenge people with and you kind of help people with is right up my alley. So I'm always fascinated to hear other ideas and concepts around mindset. So I like how you frame mindset. You say it's like a muscle. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize when I was doing it in my own life, how important it is to train your brain. I didn't even know that we could. And then just because through positive thinking and my faith and really just being determined to be a happy whole mom for my son after I experienced that tragedy of losing my husband, that's when I discovered things like neuroscience and positive psychology and mindfulness. I didn't know what I was doing was based in scientific research. So I kind of nerd out a little bit whenever I talk to folks, because I think it's very encouraging to know that with these habits, science is on your side. It's the same way that we would train for a sport. I was an athlete growing up. So to make sure I was hitting those layups or spiking the ball, repetition, practice, strength training, it's the same thing with our mind.
Wow. So so since that is the case, right? I'm thinking right now of Dr. Martin Seligman. So you said, I'm not sure if you studied him and his work. We did some work on his positive psychology. He's kind of like one of the founders of it, and down at the University of Arkansas. So we're doing this with these young men, primarily young men of color, because we were looking at the Power Five colleges. And at the Power Five colleges, we noticed through some work that a gentleman had done, a lot of the athletes that were on teams didn't reflect the population base at the actual college. And so they were struggling in classrooms and struggling with identity, and even with others that were African men of color on campuses, they found themselves an anomaly to those as well. So as they would be between 65 and 75% make up the football and basketball team revenue generating sports, there were less than 2% on the actual campus. And so there was a negative mindset that was actually happening to them. So that was some of Dr. Martin Seligman's work that we brought into it. How have you found to stop the kind of this atrophying these days of kind of having a deficit mindset?
I think it really is based in gratitude. I have to pull from my own experience. I will never teach anything that I haven't done myself. And so, right after I lost my husband, which by the way, he was murdered. And because of the trauma that came from that, I thought I was going crazy. I thought it was because of the way that he died.
Yeah.
And then I remember sitting in this grief group, and I was sitting around a group of other people. Of course, I was the youngest one in the room. I was only 29 when he died. And I noticed that even though these other widows and widowers had the opportunity to kind of have that closure because their spouses, had a long-term illness, that we were all grieving the same way. And so once I realized, okay, you're not crazy, then it was, well, what am I going to do to pull myself out of this victim mentality? Now, our family was a victim of a heinous crime. So I don't think anybody would have, wronged me for wanting to feel defeated or bitter or just frustrated and very angry. But I knew that kind of deficit in thinking was really going to hold me back from being the best mom that I could be to my son. He was my North Star. So what I started doing, it was very small because I really couldn't find anything to be grateful for. At the end of the day, I would lay there, and every single night I would say, thank you for this clean pillow. Thank you for these sheets. Thank you for this roof over my head. It was so basic. And what I noticed is I was shifting my perspective. I was shifting where I was focusing my thoughts. And I was more intentional about what I was thinking, because I could either focus on the man who destroyed our family, who we still don't know to this day, or I could shift to the things that I actually had to be grateful for. And that helped me to get from that victim mindset to, no, let me grow and build from here.
I do want to talk about what happened, kind of the tragedy, right? And because I think that really helps, because people sometimes haven't gone either into that depth of level, or they have and they don't know how to get out from it. And so there's this release that happens. And in mindset, and before we do in mindset, you talk about also resilience. And I wanted to kind of hear your perspective. Are the two the same, or do you see a difference between resilience and mindset?
I used to believe that resilience was something that we were born with a certain amount, and that was it. And that's all you get. And there are going to be days that maybe you won't be able to get up. And honestly, that's okay. If there are days like that, I have certainly had days like that. Mama told me there'd be days like this, right?
Mama told me.
I heard you sing Hamilton earlier. We might do it later, but so what I realized though was the more that I focused on the good, and even if the good like was a clean pillowcase, the more that I focused on things that were hopeful, the more that I paid attention to the protection that was around us, the provision that was given to us, that's what helped me to then realize that, oh, I can build from here, because your resilience is really just how you are able to bounce back, how you are able to overcome failure. A lot of it is based in some positive psychology, right? Optimism, having that belief system that helps you to be creative and to problem solve, but also in some growth mindset skills where you don't let mistakes or those failures define you. So I think that resilience is, there's that old saying, you know, man falls down 7 times, he gets up 8. That's what it is. It's not about you actually falling down. It is about you getting up. And if you think about it, for anybody who said that they were a undefeated fighter, it wasn't that they didn't get knocked down, but they didn't stay down.
Yeah,
and so for me, I just believe that there are skills that we can develop in our mindset that help to then build our resilience.
Okay, point of order. Point of order. I fell.
Did you get back up? Are you up?
Okay, I got that. I'm up.
With the new normal, which is actually a term that, yeah, that's a term that I use that I despised for a while. And I was like, I don't want a new normal. I want the old normal. And that's where, you know, we can create a lot of resistance in our life by not accepting reality. And even though that new normal may feel uncomfortable, gosh, can't we just be grateful to be able to experience it? So that was also a shift in my mindset.
So somebody says, okay, I want to come back to that new normal for just a second. But somebody says, just Jocelyn McDaniel says, my song. Mama used to say, take your time. So, I love it. 2 points. One, what just resonated with me in resilience, I look at the word resilience. There are 10 letters in the word resilience, and there are also 10 hurdles in a hurdle race. And so I look at the word resilience as these hurdles to be overcome, right? And you get better by practicing and training to actually run over the hurdles. So they're not even there anymore. They just kind of, you just you just get over it. But I also found that embedded in the word resilience is another word. And when the starter says, take your mark, the announcer will say, quiet for the start. And embedded in the word resilience is the word silence. And how do we hear our own voice? So that's kind of one. I would like to get your thought on that. And then number 2 is, as we are looking at that word resilience, I found that it wasn't necessarily a bounce back for me, because at first I couldn't get up. I couldn't do for myself. So like a rubber band snapping back to its original shape, I think sometimes elasticity has gone, and it never comes back to the full original shape. And that's what I think people are looking at right now, of getting back to a former previous state of surety when we never had it.
Yeah, right.
So my rubber band broke, in other words, right? So speak to that, those 2 thoughts right there, where we have silence inside of resilience. How do we hear our own voice? And then as we move forward, I think you already did it. You already talked eloquently about the moving forward and the of how we actually develop that muscle.
Yeah. So first, when it comes to that silence and that stillness, I remember there were times where I very rarely would reach out to people because I never wanted to be an emotional burden on someone else. So that's a story that I was telling in my mind. It's why I wouldn't reach out to my parents or my family. And then there were times where I felt so heavy that I had to reach out, but nobody would answer. And not to their own fault, right? But it was that moment where I was like, this is the one time I'm okay with being vulnerable and I'm not getting an answer. And I would just sit there and I would cry and I would pray. And I still have these moments now. They're not as deep and heavy. They're just stressed in other ways.
Right.
And what I found is that in those moments where I think that I'm looking for an answer from someone else, The answer is already within. I just have to get quiet enough to hear it.
Yeah.
And so I've learned through mindfulness practices that once you learn to manage your thoughts and really cut out the noise, which is usually from outside sources, you get even more clear on things like what's important for me to do today.
Right.
How do I respond to my child when they're on my last good nerve? or what should my goal be for the next 6 months in my business? It's, again, you're going to get maybe a lot of encouragement or support or even guidance, but nobody knows what's right for you better than you do. And the reason that I believe that is because I'm a God girl. And I believe that when we open ourselves up to the creator of the universe, he knows so many things before we even get there,
Right.
that other people would not be able to understand or be able to speak into. So that's why I say you have to get quiet with yourself, because there's communication that's happening there that is divine. That is purposeful. That's even, it may not make sense in the moment. And I found that it's usually when I'm so quiet that whatever I've been trying to process, I've been trying to think my way through that problem, when I just need to be still and listen, because it's moving from our subconscious to our conscious, which is our awareness, so then we can take action. So that's what I think about silence. I think it's so important. And I think it does give you that. We may want some assurance from outside sources, but the clarity comes from within. And once you get that clarity, then you do find that momentum and confidence to step forward. And that's what resilience is. It's still showing up. It's still trying. It's moving through all that. So I definitely feel like it plays a part in that. And then the second piece is how we move forward. Well, it's very hard to accept that things won't be as they were. But then when you start to shift your mind to the positive possibilities that are out there, it doesn't feel as burdensome. Now, it's very, especially when you go through a tragedy or you go through an incredible life change like yourself, right? Losing a limb, losing a husband. I mean, losing our freedom to move around like we've wanted to outside of this year. When you experience something like that, it's very hard for you to see that silver lining through the dark clouds. But we have to learn to embrace. And what I like to say is we have to accept it. we have to accept it. And the reason we need to change our relationship with that word acceptance, the reason why we usually resist acceptance is because we've been programmed to believe that acceptance means that what happened was okay, that it's right, that it's justified. And that's not the case. But acceptance, actually, for me, how I teach my clients is acceptance just means that you are acknowledging your starting point. If you can accept where you are, then you can decide where you're going. But if you're always thinking about what's happened or what you wish wouldn't have happened or should have happened or could have happened, then you're not accepting your starting point to get clarity on moving forward. So I do think we need to accept the new normal so we can make the best of it moving forward.
Dropping bombs right here. Karen Allen on this show. Oh my gosh. If you are enjoying this conversation, if you just heard something that just resonated with you, I want you to put in the chat box right now. James Possible is on. What's up? Hey, James, how you doing? So glad you're there. Great point regarding acceptance. Well said. So put Karen Allen in the chat because I want you to push her out to all of your networks. She is just rocking this show right now. What grace, dignity. Thank you so much. What a great answer. Triggered something else in me. I'm trying to get to the other thing. I told you I go all over the place.
I like to flow. Whenever I get like set questions, I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because anything can happen.
I'm going that way right now. So, I have this in my kind of keynotes. I talk about the jump is the jump. And you were talking about accepting where we are right now. So I have framed it as in this kind of fear model that people have not articulated the object of their fear. They've not accepted where they are. I don't get my leg back. We don't get back pre-COVID. We don't get these things back. We don't get back certainty because we never had it. And once we understand that there's that acceptance there, I've often framed that as a appreciation, right? Appreciating where I am right now to move forward. But the jump is a jump. And so you give a lot of great advice on one side of the coin. And then you try to help people on the other side of the coin, just like you said, you were in this space. So I need to reach out to somebody. But at the end of the day, the person has to make the commitment on their own to actually move forward. How do you help people kind of cross that chasm to make that jump to the other side, where probably not going to be easy as you go up? Like you said, I'm going to be appreciative of smelling the pillows tonight. I got sheets to lay on, and it's not going to be easy to move forward.
Mhm.
But at least I know I'm on the other side, and there's some vision that I can walk up this path.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there. Like, where do I start? So early on, when I even accepted that I was going to be a coach, because I didn't know what I was going to do with this, I just wanted to help other people who felt like they were overwhelmed with stress or grief or anything, burnout. And but I was struggling with the fact that, can I really teach people what I did when I don't know if they're going to respond the same way? I don't know if they're going to get the same outcome. So that's when I was very happy to learn more about, neuroscience and mindfulness and things of that nature. But then it was more so of releasing the expectations. And this is something we need to do even just in our everyday relationships. When we show up for somebody, whether we're giving them good advice, whether we're helping them in any way, shape, or form, whether we're being a listening ear, it doesn't matter. We just need to be fully present. But what they take from that is on them.
Yeah.
It's 100% on them. So what I try and do is, one, I will never, ever make someone feel like their feelings are invalid. And a lot of times I have to be careful because they compare their story to mine, and mine is like a lifetime murder mystery, right? Not to make light of it, but it is super crazy.
Right.
And so when they hear that, they sometimes will say, oh, but it's nothing like what you went through. And I really want people to understand, it does not matter what you have gone through. Nobody should belittle your pain or your feelings. And so once we do that, then we can start to say, well, what does matter to you? What is important? Who do you want to be? And see, self-awareness, it's two parts. One, it's knowing who you are, but it's also knowing who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we get clear on, okay, who do I want to be? Well, what habits, what thoughts, what actions does that person take? And we start to build their habits and their roadmap, because if somebody ever says, oh, I have this, 10-step roadmap, it does not work the same for everybody. Everybody is different because everybody's goals are different and everybody's wired differently. But I have found that once we get clear on who they want to be, and once they identify the habits, actions, and thoughts that are aligned with who they want to be, they find it easier to bring themselves back. I don't have to have any expectations of how they show up because they have that own intrinsic desire to show up as that person that they want to be. So once we uncover that, I release all expectations. I encourage them. I had somebody tell me, your blessing is the encouragement that you drop on people, the energy that you bring to a room or a coaching session. And so I stay fully in that lane because I know that can be a blessing to people. And then just like I have to find my own way through my silence and building my own resilience, they have to find that too. And I just want to give them the tools so that they feel completely aligned with who they desire to be.
Yeah, brilliantly said. Lots of comments coming in. Jocelyn says, great advice. Hey, Jocelyn, I know a great coach. Alan. And James Possible saying, what about this? Don't compare trauma and pain, right? Says that. And then Jocelyn Beck says, true. Very good there. So I want to go back into a little bit of the pain, into the moment that kind of helped you or begin to, I guess the question I have around, the murder and around that whole, it's like an amputation for me. There's something that's just ripped away and you no longer get that back, which is devastating. And so in that moment, kind of walk us through how you get from that point to the point of, I have a glimpse of what could be possible.
Well, thank you for calling it a glimpse, because that is so true. I had somebody tell me once, when we think about goals, we think we're going to have this bright aha moment, but it's actually a dimmer. It's that
Yeah.
switch that just comes on little by little. And I think that's kind of how my healing journey was as well. But there was a pivotal moment. And I remember I asked a friend, I said, isn't there a happy pill or something that would just take all this away? And because I felt like I was in a fog, and I didn't learn until over a year later that there's an immediate chemical deficiency that happens in your brain when you experience a loss of a loved one. And once I heard that, I was like, oh, now that makes sense. Now I understand why I can't focus, concentrate, where I forgot where I was driving to. And so before I had that knowledge, when I asked her this question, of course, she took me to a physician and said, let's see if we can get you some antidepressants or anti-anxiety meds. And I know people where, yes, you actually need that because of the chemical imbalance that you have in your brain. And for me, I was so hard on myself thinking that, is this what your life has come to, where you have to rely on medicine or drugs to help you find your balance again? And so I took them for, a couple of days, and I cried, and it was just, I was so lost and broken. I didn't know what to expect. And I felt like I should have been able to pull myself together when that is not realistic. And so then there came this day where I had been in bed for a few days, and thankfully my parents were there helping me to take care of my son at the time. But he walked into my room and he said, Mommy, he was only 2. He said, are you going to get up today? Are you going to eat? And I realized that I had been such a zombie that I was completely disconnected from him. And that broke my heart. And I felt like I heard it so clearly in my head: you can either give up or you can get up. And so what started happening visually in my mind, I do a lot of visualization. So in my mind, I saw the 2 paths. I saw, if I give up, my son loses both parents. I will really never be happy again, which is what I thought was going to be my destiny anyway. I won't have a will to live. I won't have any, is all that. And then I saw, if I get up, I don't know what that looks like, but I know if I take one breath at a time, at least I'm on that path. And that's going to look different than giving up. And it was that small adjustment. And what I like to tell people, it's called finding the alternate path. You may find yourself on one path, there's always an alternate. And so once you can find that alternate path and you just take one step at a time, the progress speaks for itself.
Yeah. So the person just said here,
yeah,
give up or get up. Right.
That was it.
Resonating. You're just resonating with people. I knew you would. So I'm not surprised. I'm just saying, there's always a moment that is the pivotal one that starts the chain reaction for other things to happen. And so thank you for sharing that with your son coming in, and kind of that's the wake up call. I think I said it a little bit earlier. For me, it was in my lowest moment. The fear was coming in: is my wife going to stick around? Is my son still going to see me as his dad? Do I still have a job in the military? Can I support my family? All those things were fears, but they weren't the object. It wasn't the truest sense, because saying my wife might not stick around, that wasn't even, I don't even know where that was coming from, right? Because it's not about her, it was about me feeling, or the object was really, am I still desirable? For you,
and then the fear then goes to, and then will I be left alone to deal with this by myself? Right.
Yes. And so I heard in yours, you were saying, I desire to be happy, because if I don't have this, I will never be happy again.
And for a long time, though, I thought I had to focus on taking care of my son. And I was giving all my attention trying to do that. And I was doing nothing to take care of myself to be better. And that's that quote, you can only take care of others if your cup is full, right? I wanted to be able to love him and take care of him from overflow.
Yes. And from Flight Attendant Alice Register, that's my wife.
Oh,
put your oxygen mask on first before you
exactly. That came in my head. Exactly that.
Right. I love it. Okay. Thank you for that. That's great. Okay. Let me see if what we got going on here. We have out of the mouth of babes.
Yeah.
Woo, very authentic. They are loving on you. Thank you all for saying that. If whatever that you have learned right now from Karen, please put that in the chat. I just wanted to put that in the chat. We're gonna take a quick little snippet here because it's 3:47 my time, 5:47 her time, and I want to make sure her brain is still good. We're gonna do a
He
wrap.
knows I go to bed at 8:00.
East Coaster. I never liked the East Coast time zone. I never could get used to it. I never got used to East Coast time zone. But we're gonna do a rapid fire 5 and then rapid fire flash round. I'm gonna ask her 5 questions real quick to pop in there. If you all have a question, please pop it in there because I would love to take one of your questions today. And then we're gonna wrap up with some other questions to help us see the journey forward. Okay. All right, here we go. You got your 5 for me too? You do?
I can think of them.
You can think of them. Oh, like Jesus, that's smart. I think about these like all night. Okay, here we're gonna I'm gonna put a timer because if you win, if you get within inside of 30 seconds when my timer goes off, then you are going to win a prize.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. Timer's gonna go on. 30 seconds on the clock. Here we go. Time will start after I ask the first question.
Okay.
Jog, bike, run, or swim?
Jog.
First place you will visit after COVID-19?
I wish the Maldives, but we'll see.
Read a book or bungee jump?
Read a book.
Best movie of all time?
P.S. I love you.
Give up or get up?
Are you kidding me right now? Get up.
I told you softball questions. Okay, last one, bonus, because you got some time on the clock, is actually you have 29 more minutes to answer the question because I put 29 minutes on the clock. Who do you know who you would love to hear on this show next?
Ooh.
You're going to need
Stephen Hart.
Who?
Stephen Hart.
Stephen Hart. Okay. I don't know who that is. I got it.
Yeah, he's a podcaster. He interviews all Black Americans. Actually, they're not even all American. They're from all over because he's Jamaican. But
wow.
Entrepreneurs, business owners, just really powerhouse people who have done amazing things and are just changing the trajectory of their families' lives. So he's an incredible person who has met a lot of phenomenal people. I think you guys would have fun talking together.
Oh my gosh, I would love that. I would love it. Okay, set it up. All right, coming back. Got to go with questions. So somebody wrote in here, and I wanted to talk about this because this is something I wholeheartedly believe in, and you made mention to it, and they picked up on it. And so Karen Lundquist says, "Hey Karen, how you doing? I love the visualization to see your paths and choices. So let me share with you how I visualize. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, I don't know if it's a humorous story, but it's a story. I became a swimmer after I had my amputation. So I swam for physical therapy through the physical therapist's orders. I started doing that. And I got so fast in the water that I actually made the Paralympic trials for swimming. Paralympic Games are for athletes with physical disabilities and visual impairment, unlike Special Olympics for cognitive disabilities. Mm-hmm. So I make the trials and I go there and I need a 106.00 to make the team in the 100-meter freestyle. And I swim 106.01. It's gravy train because I have never, I mean, I swam like a little tight, but I didn't do swimming for 20 years. So I'm back in the water. The entire process was when I first started swimming the 100-meter freestyle, I was at a 115 in the pool. So it was great. And the only reason I improved those seconds, those almost 9 seconds, was because of visualization techniques that I used as a hurdler. So I would be on the plane, I would sit, close my eyes, and I would visualize every single thing that was going on in the water around me. I took a picture of the environment that I was going to be in, and I inserted that into my brain, and I started doing repetitions of it.
Yep.
And got faster. Mm-hmm. So would love to hear your comments on going a little bit deeper on visualization and why that's so important.
Absolutely. Well, again, it goes back to, for me, for some reason at night, it was really, really, really hard. It was just the hardest time. I think really because I was a time where, my husband and I would decompress and we would catch up. He was an entrepreneur. And so that was just our time. Kids were in bed, all of that stuff. And so when I found myself alone at night and I couldn't go to sleep, and still that's a busy time for my mind. I think for all of us, right before we go to sleep, all of a sudden we need to hear everything we didn't do that day or we need to do tomorrow. So to quiet my mind, because there were disturbing thoughts that were happening, I would visualize anything specific. So it would be I was in a different house. It would be that I was laying outside and I could feel the warmth of the sun. I was happy. But then when I had more clarity on my journey and my career moving forward and using my pain to help others, it was after I had it downloaded in me, you're going to take your pain, turn it into purpose, and pay it forward to help others. And I was like, I don't know who you're talking to, because that is not me. I do not have it together. That's not my calling. And as it would have it, that year after losing my husband, I lost my house, my car, and my job was the last straw.
Wow.
So I was sitting in my car, and maybe 6 weeks before this happened, I remember thinking to myself, I should do something different so I could be there for Caleb first, because corporate America was not very kind to a single parent, and they were not really kind to a grieving widow. And so I thought to myself, I should change this up. Well, I didn't know what was coming ahead for me, right? Divine timing. And I got the push out that I never would have taken myself. I don't think I would have ever taken that leap, because it would seem like it was not the responsible thing to do. And so I didn't want to be irresponsible. I was a single mom. I needed to do what was right by Caleb. So I sat in my car crying, bawling my eyes out. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? What am I going to do from this point? And I was reminded of that thought. I should use this as an opportunity to be an entrepreneur and put Caleb first. Every night from that point moving forward, I would visualize myself on stage. Wow. And I didn't know what stage. I just could feel myself in that room. I would visualize myself in a conference room, talking to executives, coaching them. I would see myself on the plane. So every night I would pick a different part of what I wanted to accomplish in this career, in this journey of being a speaker and a coach. And to date, most of those have come through, especially that one where I gave that TED Talk. Because when I gave that TED Talk, I have a picture. My son is off stage, and I would visualize myself on stage, my son watching me and seeing how his mom took lemons and made lemonade. So not only, I didn't know somebody was taking that picture. So not only did I experience it, but somebody captured that moment of a visualization that actually came to pass.
Wow. So James Possible says, magical.
Thanks,
magical.
James.
Love the specificity. I never can say that word.
Specificity. We're going to not say it then.
Love that. Just brilliant. So the last kind of segment I would love for you to just share is you have a methodology that you came up with to kind of have snap people into it. Would you please just share that methodology with our guests?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I will tell you that I will give you the highlights here, but I'm actually doing a workshop next week where I'm diving really deep into it. And I've never had the opportunity to do this, because when I give a keynote, I have to also talk about my story. I'm like, no, let's get into the tools. So here's the high level. It's called Stop and Shift. And this is where it came from. I kept thinking about the man who had killed my husband. And I just kept thinking about every single detail. Why did that morning, he could have made a different decision. On the way to the gym, he could have made a different decision. And I just went step by step. He could have made a different decision. And I realized he had this power of choice. Then I realized, wait a minute, I have the same power. I get to choose if I'm going to focus on that narrative or if I'm going to focus forward, right? The visualization. So as I was doing it, I kept thinking to myself, I was laying on the ground, where I do my best work. People may think I'm napping, but I am meditating or I'm thinking through. And so I was laying there and I kept thinking to myself, okay, well, what am I doing here? And so then it was about 3 years later that my mom asked me, what do you think actually jump-started that healing, that you really trained your mind? And I told her, I said, I would stop the negative thought cycle and I would just shift them into a positive or productive direction. She was like, wow, that seems simple. What do you mean? So I started to break it down for her, and I told her the visualizations that I would do. Some of it was like, I could see myself walking down a forest, and that was a path, a well-worn path of bitterness and sadness. and I would say, you know what, I'm finished on this path. And I would start walking down another one, and it would be happiness and joy and peace. So I was creating these new paths, if you will. I thought just visually, but it's also the neuroplasticity in our brain. You create those new grooves in your brain.
Right.
Or I would be driving and I'm like, oh, I actually need to go around this detour. So I would use different visualizations. But essentially what you do is in the stop part of the exercise, you're becoming aware of the voice. So this is where it's going to take way longer than what I have right now.
Yeah, we're going to pick up on your thing.
Yeah. The more that you become aware of the voice, the more you are able to disconnect and sort through your thoughts. Then you get to choose which one you respond to. A lot of times we react, but when you stop, you tune into the voice and then you can shift, which is the choice. And that is, how do I choose to respond to this thought? What action am I going to take? How do I then, follow up from this point? And so the stop, again, it's listening to the voice. And then the shift is the choice. How do I respond to this thought that I'm processing?
Wow.
Which is also why it goes back to, who do you want to be? Because when you shift, that choice needs to be aligned with your core values to make sure that moment by moment you are showing up as exactly who you want to be.
Absolutely brilliant. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I have it in my notes too for your program coming up. And I want to make sure that we honor you for that. And because I know it takes a lot of work to put that together and to share of yourself to help others and other individuals. So thank you for doing that. I'm trying to get to it right now. It's a live workshop entitled Reframe, Release, Remove Negative Thoughts. It's going to happen on February the 18th. Tell people where they can go to sign up for it.
Yeah, if you go to my website, KarenAllen.co, then you will have a little pop-up that says live workshop. You can go under my resources tab for the events and workshops. But if you land on any of my social media, you will also find a link to the workshop.
Awesome. So yeah, I intend, I'm not sure if I've signed up already, but I'm definitely going to.
I hope you do, because you're going to have fun. Can you imagine an hour of this energy and taking action? John, you already know what you're signing up for.
100%. 100%. Yes. That's why I wanted you on the show in the first place. Oh my God. Yes. And then when you go to her site, so I was poking around, perusing around, trying to do my diligent research. She has these mindset hacks to improve your mindset. So get the tips, these little exercises, life hacks. I can't wait to see mine, because I know they came into one of my email addresses, and so I'm definitely gonna be looking at that. So she says, check your inbox weekly. And so I'm going to be taking not only the hacks, but I want to see what she's doing, because I've always wanted to do something like that too, because everybody's asked me for these tips. So I want to share that with you. So what have we not covered that you want to get out?
What I realize is, like, we can take really good care of our mindset, but we don't take as good of care as we do our physical health. And I really want people to walk away knowing that mental health is more than mental illnesses and disorders. That is part of it. But for so long, it has just been tied to that stigma of something is wrong with me. So I really hope to change the narrative and let people know that mental health is also about mental strength training. It is about using any opportunity or challenge or disruption for your good or for your growth. It's absolutely possible. And when you improve your mindset, it will touch every single area of your life. I mean, I know that I'm a better mother because I've decided to be more mindful. And I just want to encourage everybody, take really good care of your mindset, no matter what you want to do or where you are in life or what you're trying to overcome or heal from. It's all going to start with your thoughts and the way that you think. So just take good care of yourself.
I love it. It's awesome. Now, aren't you all glad you were in the room where it happens?
Work.
Y'all got to see him. That's awesome. Okay, so James Possible, as we get ready to wrap up here, awareness of the voice and then ability to shift. Thank you, James, for saying that. Our Facebook user says so many incredible life lessons. Thank you so much, Karen and John. I really appreciate you being on. What an amazing gift you are. Some people, I told to Apollo Ono when he was on a few weeks ago, that some people are just gifts and some people are the gifts. So thank you for being the gift. Really appreciate you being on for that. So mental health and strength, somebody else said that too. Got to put that out there. And then, look, y'all didn't ask any questions today. I'm shocked. I am absolutely shocked. I'm actually disappointed in you. Disappointed. But you know what? Send it out. What is the one lesson that you learned? I'll keep it up as we get ready to wrap up. Stay on for a second as I close out the show. I want to get some more information from you. And so we'll get ready to close out right now. So thank you, everybody, for being on with us on Hurdlers of Adversity, Inspires and Maximizes the Pivotal Moments. We had on phenomenal Karen Allen. Just what a great insight into mindset. Great nuggets to take away. She has her program that's coming up, so make sure I'll put that out in the next link when you see it. We will chop this up so that the greatest answer that she gave, they'll come out, sporadically throughout the next week or over the next course of a couple months even, because I want you to make sure that you see what she has said, and then we'll also promote her live that's coming up. All right, next week, you have all heard of Indeed. You saw them on the Super Bowl commercial. They help people get jobs. That's what they do. They had a great Super Bowl ad. I really love the emotional connection that they did with it to Anjaday's Rise Up. And so great segue from what Karen was talking about, how we got to get up, we got to rise up. So we will be talking with Dane Browner, who is one of their global mentor gurus around HR, and talking about the inspired job market. Our next big announcement, my dear friend April Holmes and I, she's the first person sponsored by the Michael Jordan brand. We are going to be doing a Clubhouse. We were supposed to start doing it last Monday. I'm not sure what happened. Probably my fault. So follow us on Clubhouse, April Holmes and myself. We're going to be doing a lot of this on Clubhouse. So more information about that to follow. And remember that you are the inspirations. Inspirations are the catalyst to motivation. Motivation in turn causes actions. Actions then lead to transformational results. And these results, they re-inspire people, or they allow someone else that's watching the process to catch the vision. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate your time and attention. Share this out with your networks, and then come back here next week at 3:12 Mountain Time for our next guest, Dane Browner. Have a great day. Go forth and inspire your world, everybody. Bye for now.